Let's go. Just fun to have a little intro music, um, and of course my audience just massive. Thank you. What can I say? Okay, well that was fun. Um, Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Paul Bale with the Canadian Bro Show. My first iteration of the Canadian Bro Show is all things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. And we'll be filming that tomorrow, and that'll be up on the YouTube channel tomorrow on our podcast. Um, and let me just make the screen a little bit larger. Again, my name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. We've done 25 episodes as of tomorrow for the first iteration, All Things Canadian. And the second iteration is 10 episodes, and this will be our 10th episode. My partner, my co-host with the most, as he likes to eloquently tell himself, unfortunately could not join me today as he is in a hospital, possibly in Edmonton. I'm going to call him after the show. He found out on New Year's Day a couple of days ago that tests were done, and he is suffering from gallstones, and apparently quite a few gallstones. I'm not really sure how much or how many, but he has had surgery. He is recovering. I'm hopeful everything's fine. Um, and I wish him the best and a speedy recovery because we miss him. I miss him already. But in the meantime, the show must go on, as they say. And thank you for joining me. This will be episode 10. And what we're going to do, basically, with the second iteration of the Canadian Bro Show, Trent and I, we talk about all basketball from the Hoopjunkies, Pauly and Rowley, minus Rowley today. And I'm sure he's going to recover really quick, and we'll hopefully do another episode next Friday or Saturday. In the meantime, I just want to talk about today's show. And essentially, we're going to be going over what we like to do on the Canadian Bro Show. If this is your first time, is we like to start off with an intro. We have a little bit of fun with that and talk about our week. I'm currently in Vancouver. I'm in my other studio. I live in both Vancouver and Kelowna, and heading back to Kelowna next week sometime. But in the meantime, I'm here in my 25 square foot studio in my condo downtown Vancouver, and happy to be here, happy to have it, and happy to have you join me, even though the show won't be uploaded until after we record it. Today, we're going to be talking about all things basketball, of course. We're going to talk about the NBA. We're going to talk about the NCAA Division One men's with a primary focus on Cooper Flag. We feel that he's going to be the first overall pick in the draft, and I'm absolutely certain that's going to happen, barring any injury. God forbid, we don't want that to happen to anyone. But he's playing for the Duke Blue Devils and really playing well. We always like to start the episode with WNBA, the female basketball league in the NBA, and we like to have a primary focus on another exceptional, extraordinary, talented young lady, Caitlin Clark. I'd like to do a little segment on Caitlin Clark. I do it almost every episode. Trent and we just fascinated by this gal. She's just changed the dynamics of basketball globally. And we're not just talking about female basketball. Of course, she is a female. She's the best female basketball player I've ever seen. And in saying that, she beat Pistol Pete Maravich's long-standing scoring record when he played 3 seasons at LSU under his dad. And she did it in 4 seasons, but no one ever thought she did it. I certainly didn't. And congratulations to her. She's an amazing young lady. And I'm going to talk about her accolades because it's really quite remarkable. And we're going to get into that as well. We're going to do fantasy, Yahoo NBA fantasy for those that play Yahoo fantasy. I've been playing for this will be my 21st season. I started a long time ago. I now find myself in the top 1% of fantasy basketball players. Um, God, I don't know if that's the world or whatever, but I'm actually more successful as as a fantasy basketball GM than I probably was as a player. I'm wearing my London Towers jersey, and this was my last team playing professional in the British Basketball League with the London Towers. way back in the day. In my last season, we won everything. So it was a really good time to retire. I was turning 36, and I was like, okay, better late than never. Started at 29, and here I am 26 years later. It's hard to believe. But thank you very much for joining us. And just before we get into the show, if you'd like to, we really, in order to grow the show, we just love to have subscriptions, likes, shares, comments, whatever you'd like to do and spend the time. We very much appreciate it. We have 30 subscriptions. It's unbelievable. We only need 470 more to be monetized. And that's the goal at some point in the near future. With your help, we really appreciate it. It's necessary. And it just shows if you want to leave a comment or a like or a dislike, it just please contact us. Let us know. If you'd like to know about further content with the show at a future time, let us know. That would be awesome. Comments you can just make. You can subscribe on the screen. You'll see a little icon on the bottom. Um, and just run your mouse over it and subscribe. Appreciate it very much. In the meantime, let's talk about the greatest female basketball player in the history of basketball. Basketball was invented by a Canadian, and Dr. James Naismith, I believe it was 1894, 95. He was employed at University of Massachusetts and at the YMCA, and was asked to create a sport in the winter. The winters in the East Coast are nothing like the winters in our mild West Coast in Vancouver right now. It's a little damp as per usual. I just came from Vancouver Island and it was actually snowing, but raining nonstop. So it is the wet coast, but it's certainly not what's happening in back east. As a matter of fact, pretty much eastern British Columbia all the way to the Maritimes is snow and cold. Here, it's pretty mild. It's awesome. But let's get back to Caitlin Clark. For those that don't know Caitlin Clark, she had a dazzling debut season for a guard of the Indiana Fever. She's from Iowa. She broke Pistol Pete Maravich's scoring record in 4 seasons at Iowa, which is just incredible. And she just continues to rack up unbelievable accolades as her first season in the WNBA as a first pick overall with the Indiana Fever was pretty successful. She had a really good run. And after 1 year, I just go through the accolades for those that don't know. It's really quite remarkable. She has broken 62 records in her very first season in the WNBA. Nobody's ever done it. Now, there are a lot of great female basketball players in the WNBA, and we've mentioned many of them over the last 9 episodes. And if Trent was here, he'd be talking about it right now. But I'm going to take over for Trent because he loves Caitlin, so do I, and we love basketball. And we're hoop junkies, and you have to acknowledge that this woman is she's transcended the game of basketball globally. And we're not just talking female basketball. We give her credit for that because it's credit due, but she's done it for basketball in the world. What she's done is quite remarkable. Ready for this? 2024. She was named the Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year. Nice. Shortly thereafter, she was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. Not just female athlete of the year. Just remarkable. God bless her. First rookie since 2008 to be named to an all WNBA team. Um, and also, coincidentally enough, or not so coincidental, in 2024, she was named the WNBA Rookie of the Year. She was also 2024 WNBA All Rookie Team, of course. And she actually has the most points by a point guard in the season in the WNBA's history. It just keeps on going. She breaks Pistol Pete Maravich, by the way, is my favorite player, a scoring machine, and that's what I modeled my game after was Pistol Pete Maravich. Of course, I wasn't Pistol Pete Maravich, but I was kind of a short, old um, version of Pistol Pete. I was a prolific scoring machine, and I like to drop dimes and take over, and it was a great person to look up to. Now I'm looking up to Caitlin Collins because I don't play basketball anymore, unfortunately. But boy, does she ever play basketball. And the accolades just keep on coming. Most double doubles by a rookie guard in WNBA history. It just keeps on going. Most points by a rookie in WNBA history. Most assists by a rookie in WNBA history. First WNBA rookie to record 2 triple doubles, which is quite remarkable and very difficult. First triple double by a rookie in WNBA history, and first triple double in Fever history, the team that drafted her first overall in the WNBA. Smart move. Very smart move. First player in WNBA history to be named Player of the Month and Rookie of the Month in the same month. First player in WNBA history to score 20 points, 15 assists, and 5 rebounds in a game. 4-time WNBA Rookie of the Month. 3-time Eastern Conference Player of the Week, as that's the conference or the division they play in Indiana. And she's not far from home, that's for sure. WNBA rookie single scoring record. Not a surprise. She's prolific scorer, but she's also flashy like Pistol Pete. You know, she can drop dimes. She's got some skill. She's got flair. She's exciting. She's transcending the game for all young ladies in the world and doing an incredible job. WNBA single season rookie record for assists. You know, people don't realize how hard that is. WNBA single season rookie for 3-pointers. WNBA season single turnover record. With the assists, you're going to get turnovers. Her turnover ratio is like 4-1. So I'll just leave it at that. It's remarkable. WNBA record for assists in a game at 19. I watched the game. She should have had a couple more, but a couple of blown layups. It happens, but 19 is incredible. Set franchise record for the most double doubles in a season with Indiana Fever. Set franchise record for most 3-pointers in the season with the Indiana Fever. Set franchise record for the most 10-plus assist games. The Indiana Fever. Fastest WNBA player to reach 100 3-pointers in 34 games. She can shoot it deep. Most assists by a rookie in WNBA All-Star Game history with 10. Ninth rookie to be named WNBA All-Star starter. Only player with more than 700,000 votes for the WNBA All-Star Game. Most All-Star Game fan votes ever. You can see what's happening here, right? She's going to change. She is changing the game. She has, and she will continue to grow. Fastest player to reach 350 points, 150 assists, and start a WNBA season, regardless of years in the league. 20 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 10 overs in the debut. 10 turnovers is very high, but she's probably nervous, and everybody doesn't know what to expect, and that's okay. You got to learn to be able to take your game to the next level and cut down on those turnovers. I think she leads the league in turnovers too at 4. But with her double-digit assists, that ratio is again like 4-1. So nobody's doing that. What have we got here? First overall pick, as I mentioned, by the Indiana Fever on April 15th of the 2024 WNBA draft. In saying that, every episode we're going to start off with her because it's really important. When we say all basketball, we really mean it. Trent loves her. I love her. We all love her. What she's doing to the game of basketball is really remarkable, and it's about time. And there are many, many players, coaches, and agents and fans of the WNBA that are just loving this gal, and the accolades just keep on coming and they won't stop. If you haven't seen her play, go to YouTube, and you can go back to our previous 9 episodes of All Basketball from the Hoopjunkies, Pauly and Rowley, and we talk about all these things. But of course, you can Google her and you can just read it yourself. It's remarkable, but do watch her play. You want to see remarkable? The way she plays the game of basketball is like Pistol Pete Maravich. And of course, Pistol Pete Maravich is no longer with us, unfortunately, passed at the very young age of 40 of a heart attack after playing basketball for the first time in a couple of years on the court. It's just the way it goes, you know? And The next person, the next sort of basketball conference we like to talk about also is we want to talk about the NCAA Division One in America, and it's the best college league in the world. Some would argue that in FIBA, the club system in Europe and around the world is far superior to the AAU, which is, the kids that are coming up and they join academies and then they get, if they're good, but it's just not the same thing. You got to learn the fundamentals. The fundamentals of basketball are the most important thing. And the AAU is a lot of flash and cash and not necessarily the best way to learn the game of basketball if you want to understand the importance of fundamentals, which are extraordinarily important. And the first person we always bring up in the show is who Trent and I think is going to be the first pick drafted in the NBA in 2025, later this year, and that is Cooper Flagg. He is a phenom. He's 6'10", just turned 18. He's with the Duke Blue Devils, of course, and the ACC, and he's started off his career with a bang. Let me just throw this out. Cooper Flagg will become the NBA's first pick overall, barring injury. Let's not talk about injuries. Let's hope he gets through this first season, gets drafted first, and it will happen. The question is, who's he going to get drafted to? And that will be probably more than likely the top or the lower four worst teams of each division. And then it comes down to records. So there'll be people that will they'll just be trying to lose in order to get the odds to get the first pick overall. Not the best thing to do, but the NBA is a massive business and they got to do what they got to do, and that's how they run their league. The most recent game into the new year, the calendar year of 2025, Cooper Flagg had 24 points, yet again in Duke's first ACC game against West Virginia. He had 11 rebounds, hit a few threes and a couple of dimes. He's very unselfish. He doesn't force the game, but he's just a very prolific young man. And what that kid is going to do in the NBA is exactly what he's doing right now. And I'll talk about Wembiyama, Victor. That is what he's doing is incredible, and it's his second year in the NBA. He will not be another Victor Wembiyama. There won't be another Victor Wembiyama for a very long time, if ever. I'll get into him later because his stats and numbers are just never happened. We'll talk about it later. Cooper Flagg, however, dominated the start of both halves on Saturday as number 4 ranked in NCAA Division I basketball. Duke defeated SMU 89-62 while playing on the road, and his coach was at home because of illness. I'm not sure if that's COVID. And if it's still going on, Flagg had 11 points in the first 10 minutes and chipped in 9 more over the final 4:05. And the Blue Devils won. The freshman phenom finished with 24 points for the third time in Duke's last 4 games and continued the heart-started ACC play with 11 rebounds. Flagg also finished with his fourth double-double this season, which is remarkable. Usually points and rebounds, but it can be points and blocks, points and assists and 3, whatever. It's really impressive for an 18-year-old. He just turned 18. Flagg also he's very versatile, and he rounded out his stat line with 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal, and a couple of threes. The biggest weakness of his game, being a young man, is three-point percentage. However, it is at about 29% right now. He needs to get that up about 10 points into the 38%. In NCAA, that's pretty good. In the NBA, that's pretty good. And so that's with we bring him up, we'll give him a short clip. He had the game. It's a new year, by the way. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas holidays, if that's what you celebrate. A happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, uh, peace, love, happiness, good health, and let's hope that 2025 was much better than the last sort of 4 or 5. It's been a tough world out there, and it can only get better. Be kind out there. It's free, and you can change someone's day, if not life, by just being kind. The next thing we're going to get into is we like to talk about NBA fantasy because, as an NBA analyst and fantasy basketball uh, hoop junkie, I've been playing fantasy basketball for my 21st season. In 20 years, I have found myself into the top 1% of fantasy basketball via Yahoo, and as I mentioned, I think briefly in the beginning, I think I've been more successful as a fantasy general manager than I was as a player, but don't take that the wrong way. Fantasy basketball is extremely difficult, perhaps not as difficult as fighting your way to be a professional athlete from a small town university, short, Caucasian, starting at 29, 30 years old. But I played 7 years professionally and I had an 8-year vacation. It's doable. We're going to be doing on this channel, we're going to be doing a series on how to become a professional basketball player. And we're going to bring in guests that have played professional. And we're going to enlighten you on exactly what you need to do if you don't know already. And if that is a goal, big, we always say, dream big and good things can happen. And if not, I didn't make the NBA, but I played professional at the top leagues in the world at a very late stage. So don't give up. Believe in yourself. Manifest that goal. Make it happen. Yeah, but so our team is Yahoo head-to-head category. The number is 7546. If you want to go on Yahoo, just go punch in team or league 7546, and both Trent and I drafted in a league together under our banner, which is right there. Um, that's Trent and my wife and I designed that. We're very proud of it. And right now, not that anybody really matters, but I'm in 5th place with 45 wins and 36 losses, and 556 winning percentage. Trent is filthy Maminels, say that 5 times, man-a-mals, and he's in 7th place. So we're pretty close. We're both playing under the same banner, but we're playing against each other just for fun. And the start of the season was really tough. This is the 11th week of the NBA season and fantasy basketball. The first 10 weeks were really brutal and slow. Everybody was just drugging. It was tough. But things have now opened up, and I think if I can finish strong this week, I'll find myself in the top 3. I'm not sure where Trent will be, but we'll find out on Sunday night or Monday morning. And with fantasy basketball, we'd like to talk about one of my favorite analysts, Dan Titus, who has played fantasy basketball for over 20 seasons himself. Yahoo picked him up, and now he's a basketball analyst for Yahoo. So maybe there's an opportunity for me at some point in the near future. You just never know. And Dan did a really, really good article on, as an analyst. His segment was called 10 Bold Predictions for the Rest of the NBA. I think I only chose 9 or took 9 because one of them I don't know. But the first one is a Canadian. Probably the best point guard, arguably, in the NBA right now is a Canadian. And that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's 6'6". He plays for the OKC Thunder. And Dan seems to think he will finish as the top 10 player in 9 category leagues. 9 categories, from foul shots to field goals to free throws to three-pointers to scoring, assists, steals, rebounds, turnovers, all. And you play against one other team for the entire week. And statistically, whoever outduels the other moves up in categories, and that's how you get into the playoffs and eventually win championships. He listen to this. They call him SGA. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's quite long. So during that span, SGA has averaged 33.4 points, 5.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and he's averaged 2.3 threes, 2.3 steals, 1.3 blocks. When you add steals and blocks together, we call it stocks. We'll talk about that with Wemby because it's even more impressive. And only 2.5 turnovers a game. It's about a 3-to-1 turnover, which is really good for a guy that handles the ball pretty much 36, 37 minutes a game. And his shooting splits are fantastic. 57% from the field. He's the king of the mid-range. When he's not shooting threes, he just likes to pull up from 15 to 13. And he does not, at 57%, is amazing. He shoots 36% from 3, which is about the league average, and 92 from the line. For your point guard that's handling the ball, 92 from the line is going to save you a lot of games in the last few minutes of the game by making those foul shots. It's massive. He is doing all for fantasy managers, and the type of production and efficiency on both ends. He plays both offense and defense. As a matter of fact, OKC is one of the best defensive teams in the league, and he can push all of his teammates by leading them. Dan then goes on to talk about the best team in the NBA statistically, and we'll talk about it at the end segment. We're going to go through the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference and let you know where everybody stands. And every week we do that, and it changes. And right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best record. They're the best offensive team in the league, and they happen to be also the best defensive the team in the league, and OKC's right behind them, as well a few other teams of which we'll talk at the end of the show. The next thing is I'll just tell you about Cleveland because it's really important. We did in a pre-show episode 1. I had Cleveland in the top 3, and that's in their particular conference in the East with the Celtics, and they're right there right now. The Cavs are 29-4. So basically, Dan says the Cavaliers will win 70 games this year, which is really hard to do in an 82 game NBA season. But the GM's done an incredible job with depth, and they've had pretty good health. Probably the best dynamic backcourt in the NBA right now, and they have 2 7-footers. So they've really got everything. Only 2 teams have won 70 games in the regular season in NBA history. My goodness. And if they keep winning at this torrid rate, it bode well for anybody rostering Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. That's the dynamic backcourt. Those 2 guards are electrifying. And then, of course, the 2 bigs, the 2 7-footers are Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are playing incredible. And who says you can't play 2 7-footers that don't shoot threes? Although Evan Mobley can shoot threes. The next thing that Dan brings up is this is no surprise. Everybody's talking about it and has been for a while. Is that the Cavaliers, or pardon me, the Warriors will trade for Jimmy Butler. And I'm doing a little segment later with Jimmy Butler because it's such a drama. It's Jimmy always seems to bring the drama to the game, right? I mean, he only plays like 50 games out of 82, and he's making like $55 million this year, and he's struggling to find the joy of basketball. $50+ million, and you can't find the joy, and you blame it on somebody else. Not a fan. But people are. He's very talented. And Golden State Warriors, Pat Riley doesn't want to trade Butler. That's what he said a few days ago. Not anymore. He's trading him. And Butler, knowing that he could walk for nothing next season, although he had a $56 million player option that he is obviously not going to do because he's lost the joy for basketball, being a multimillionaire. A boo-hoo. I mean, it's just and I understand that, players, they own the league. The players run the league. But, Jimmy, uh, I mean, please. I just I can't do it. I can't do it. It's just anyways, somebody will find him, the Warriors. Um, so he doesn't want to lose him for nothing. He wants to try to get a bag. And the Warriors have a bag. They got picks. They got young players. They want Jonathan Kuminga. The Heat do. They could probably throw in Wiggins. They could probably throw in Podinsky, the young kid out of Gonzaga that's kind of struggling. Now that they got Dennis Schroeder, they could throw in some draft picks. And, is it worth it to get Butler? He's 35 years old, plays only 50 games. He's always injured. He's a drama queen for some reason. I don't know why. And the Heat just fined him 7 games for taking, 2 weeks off because he was, angry, upset, and crying. And honestly, grow up, bro. Just grow up. I mean, you're making millions and you're going to get traded. So hopefully it works out for all teams, all parties. You just never know. And at the end of the day, Stephen Curry is 36 years old, and in the last couple of weeks has been, his numbers have dropped. It's normal. You're 36. He's gone from 26 a game down to 22 and a half, but he can still shoot. He's the best shooter in the history of the game. And he needs help in the worst way. And Jimmy's a two-way skill set. He does play D when he plays, when he's healthy, when he's not faking injuries or upset because he's disgruntled and can't find joy. As you can tell, I'm not particularly happy about that, but whatever. The next one is this is no secret. The Lakers, they made a couple of small moves. They traded with Brooklyn to get Finney Smith, and he's a good two-way player, good defender. He's got good height. He can shoot the three, and I think he'll fit in nicely. But that wasn't the big move. The big move is they want to get Zach LaVine, and Zach, nobody wanted to trade for him at the beginning of the season. Well, that's changed now because he's actually, even though his numbers have dropped a little bit, he's healthy, and the Lakers could really use a shooting guard like Zach LaVine at this stage of his career. So I think they've got draft picks. They might actually have to use all three of their draft picks, first rounders, and then give 3, 4 players and maybe a second rounder and cash. I don't know, but they're going to have to throw the boatload in order to make this happen, and hopefully it'll be worthwhile. We'll see. Be interesting. Um, the next one would be Emmanuel. Dan goes, Emmanuel Quickly, who's been injured, has only played 5 games the entire season. Now he's finally healthy. His first game back and had a really great game. He feels that Emmanuel Quickly is a top 40 player in points leagues and 9 cat leagues. The Toronto point guard hasn't been able to catch a break this season before returning on Wednesday. Quickly has played in 3 regular seasons games before he injured his ankle in a rare elbow injury, and then he got traded. So Dan goes, why am I bullish? Coming in the season, he's one of my breakouts for high scoring assist and steal. His return Wednesday was 21 points, 15 assists, and showcased a bit of all of that. And he thinks Quickly will continue to go off. And by the way, Toronto needs him. Toronto's really struggling. They're record-wise, one of the worst teams in the league right now. And I would love to see that happen because we're Canadian. And Toronto's the only Canadian team in the NBA. And until Vancouver gets one back, and then possibly Montreal in 10 years, um, you know, that's what we got. And I'm a hoop junkie. I love all basketball, so it doesn't really matter. But I like to watch my Toronto Raptors. Um, yeah, the next one, James Harden. He seems to think that James Harden finishes higher than Telly's Halberton in 9 category leads. As of Thursday, Halliburton ranked 26th and Harden ranked 41st. Harden's having a really good year, and he's healthy and he's playing well, and he's flirting with the triple double most times because Kawhi Leonard's always injured, and they're kind of depleted in the backcourt, so to speak. But Harden's assist rate and efficiency will improve, and he will have another floor raising, like Leonard's supposedly coming back in, so that's probably going to help anyways. But Halliburton's been kind of a disappointment so far, and we'll see where he goes. But he's been playing well recently. So the other thing Dan talks about is Cam Thomas. The Brooklyn Nets are in full. They're trying to get Cooper Flag. They're trading. You're going to trade everyone, but they're going to keep Cam Thomas because um, uh, Dan says that Kama's going to go and average 30 points a game, and if anyone can, it will be him. And I've got him on 3 of my 8 teams in Yahoo Fantasy, so I hope that's the case because I love gunners, I love shooters and scorers, but especially ones that are contributing on both sides of the basketball court, defensively, offensively, assists, dimes, steals. You got to bring it all. He can do it. He's electrifying. The Rockets have a lot of assets. They're extremely young. They've got draft picks. They played very well. They're in the top 5 right now. I'll mention that later. There's a lot of rumors going on. Something's going to happen, so keep an eye on that. But Dan's a pretty smart dude. That's why Yahoo picked him up, and that's what he is thinking. The waiver wire in fantasy basketball, we do a segment called Waiver Wired Connected. And if you're a fantasy basketball player and you've got a lot of injuries like all of us do, there's a few players you need to really pick up in every episode. This being our 10th, I do this because fantasy basketball goes week to week. So we're going into week 11. The first player I would grab, if you haven't already, and I have on 4 of my 8 teams, is DeAndre Hunter. He's only 50% rostered in Yahoo. Atlanta Hawks. Over the last 7 games, Hunter's averaged 23.6 points, 4.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1.3 steals, 2.9 3-pointers in 28 minutes again, shooting 57% from the field, 87% from the foul line, and contributing about 38% from the three-point line, and really playing unbelievable. So if he's available, grab him. Alexander Sar from France by the lowly Washington Wizards. Big 7-footer. Has been really playing well. Essentially, you got a 7-footer who's shooting less than 40% from the field. Unheard of. But in the last few weeks is really starting to pick up. And if it's hard to find a big that can contribute in multiple categories. So if he's available, give him a go, depending on the rosters and the schedule. Next player is a Toronto Raptor player. Of course, I got to bring up the Raptors once again. Grady Dick is a 6'8", 2'3" shooting guard. One of the best shooters in the league. Is playing really well. His 3-point percentage is almost up to 40% now. He's averaging 18 points a game, which is pretty impressive. And with quickly coming back, and he'll be dropping dimes. He's going to be invaluable because he's very aggressive and he takes it to the rack. He's not afraid to dunk on people because of his height, and he's got a really smooth stroke. Another person with an unfortunate injury with the Detroit Pistons to their point guard Ivy, who fractured his tibia yesterday. I don't like to watch those things. This wasn't as graphic as many of them are, but who are you going to fill in? Asar Thompson has been sporadic, but extremely athletic. I would say it's going to be a combination of Asar Thompson and Malik Beasley, the outside shooting. So in fantasy basketball, if either one of those two or both, if you have the roster spots available, and I would take a hard look at both of them. The next person, Luka's out for probably Luka Doncic for the Mavericks is out for at least another 2-3 weeks. He's got calf issues, which seems to be quite prevalent in the NBA. I don't know if anybody actually stretches anymore. But Spencer Dinwiddie is only rostered at 27%, and he's been playing well. And when he gets the minutes, he's a guy that you can stream based on their schedule. Take a hard look at him. He can shoot threes, and he runs the show. Hard to find a point guard that can run the show, and they're lucky to have him. The next segment I'm going to do is I do a segment on Victor Wembanyama, this just phenomenal athlete, second year in the NBA, and what he is doing. There was a game just last week where Wemby played the MVP, 3-time MVP, probably the best center in the world, Jokic, Nikola Jokic. We call him the Joker, a 7-footer, Pillsbury Doughboy. And this Wembanyama, when he stands, he's 7'5", and when he stands, because of his wingspan, he's 8'4". He can dunk the ball by just standing under the basketball and just getting up on his tiptoes and dunk it. And his hands, as I mentioned before, are freakishly long. So when he is palming a basketball, it looks like he's holding a grapefruit. It's incredible. And he's shooting threes. Like, I'll give you some stats. What are we going to do here? So Jokic is probably the most offensively effective player of his generation. And his signature move, the somber souffle, which is kind of funny because he's just so slow, and he's one of these 7-footers that doesn't play above the rim because his vertical is about 2 inches. But do not miscalculate his overall game. He drops dimes, he rebounds. Now he's shooting threes at almost 50% from the 3-point line. Who does that? It's early in the season, only 11 weeks. Can he sustain that? Who knows? But we're not talking about Jokic. We're talking about what he said about Wembley. He goes, Wembyana, they won by 1 point, and I'll talk about his numbers. And now the Spurs are now 18-16, which is incredible. And Jokic goes, I think he's better this year than last year, obviously. And he said this after the game, after Wemby just destroyed him, or didn't destroy him, destroyed Denver. I think he's going to get better with experience, and his body's changing already. I think he's one of a kind, and he's going to be remembered forever. Yep. Wembanyama currently leads all NBA players in every conceivable stat involving blocks as well as stocks. So blocks are when you block the shot, hopefully inbounds to your team. Steals, when you add blocks and stocks, steals together, it becomes stocks. It's in fantasy basketball. If you can find players that provide stocks, you have a very good chance to win the entire league. That's how it works. Wemby, I drafted him first overall on one of my teams. Thank God I had a first overall. I actually had two. The other team I chose the Joker. I had to take Wemby because I wanted to see if he was going to improve in the second season. Man, more than anybody anticipated. Where are we going here? So, despite having the third highest usage rate, which you want in fantasy, of course, you want the minutes, because he can provide hopefully 8 of those 9 categories. Turnovers, I punt turnovers anyways. And despite having the third highest usage in the league, his offensive efficiency has taken a step forward, and his field goal went from 465 to 480. His 3-point percentage is 325 to 355. That's pretty good for a 7'5" guy. And his turnovers from 4.4 to 3.8. So that's a step in the right direction. His fouls per game, 2.6 to 2.2. Basically, he is the front runner for the defensive player of the year. Trent and I both feel he should have won last year. He's going to win this year for sure. While shouldering and succeeding an enormous load on offense, based on stats entering Friday's game, he finished with 35 points on 14 of 22 shooting, 18 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 7 turnovers. Ooh. Friday was Wembanyama's 100th career game. In the first 100 games, he's done this. Listen to this. More points than LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Carmelo Anthony. Come on. More rebounds than Anthony Davis, Patrick Ewing, and Joel Embiid. No way. Yeah. More blocks than Shaquille O'Neal, Dikembe Mutombo, not my house, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Good Lord. This is the crazy one. He has more three-pointers than Steve Curry, Klay Thompson, and Trae Young in his first 100 games. It's just remarkable. Um, we're running out of precedents for evaluating Wembanyama's early career. The guy entered the NBA with limitless potential and already looks like an elite player at age 20 and is legitimately telling how much further he can go. It's the sky's the limit. If you have not watched this young man play, please check out on YouTube or NBA, and look at some of the past games. Just look for the best games. In one game, he had 10 blocks. It's really incredible. But going back to one of my least favorite players, I'm just not a big fan of Jimmy Butler. I do acknowledge that he is a great basketball player and has, and at the same time, anyone that's going to moan about making $50 million a year in his last contract, it's just he's upset the Heat didn't give him the extension of another 120. They looked at him playing 50 games out of 80 every season, and he's been with the Heat for 5 years. They're not going to pay him to just make up excuses not to play, right? Because he's just pouting or he's faking to be sick, whatever. The Jimmy Butler situation is not getting much better in Miami. Despite a few days ago, Pat Riley told the press that he's not going to trade him. Well, that happened in 3 days. The Miami Heat announced Friday that they've suspended their 6-time All-Star for 7 games. Man, multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team over the course of the season. I should say seasons. He's been doing this for 5 years. So Riley goes, we have to suspend Jimmy Butler for 7 games for multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team over the course of the season, particularly the last several weeks. Through his actions and statements, he has shown that he no longer wants to be a part of the team and blah, blah, blah. So what that means is 7 games for a guy that's making $50 million a season. This is what he's losing. Butler will lose $336,543 per game over 7. For those that aren't great at math, that works out to $2,355,798 for being suspended for faking being sick because he's disgruntled and upset he didn't get his extension. He's a multimillionaire. He has more money than he needs for the rest of his life. But, it is a lot of money, so I get it. It's sad. Someone's going to take him on. I really hope it's not the Warriors because I'm a huge Warrior fan, but it could be one of 4 teams, but my guess it's the Warriors. I'll just leave it at that. And to finish up today's show, I always like to, well, Trent, usually I let Trent take over the standings of the Eastern and Western Conference. And I just hope he's going to be okay. I'm going to reach out to his family after the show. But in the East, the Eastern Conference, as I mentioned, Cleveland Cavaliers is 30-4 with a winning percentage of 882. They are 20-4 in their conference and 6-0 in their division. At home, they're 17-1, and on the road, they're 13-3. I mean, that's extremely impressive. The last 10 games, they're 9-1. They're on fire. They've won 9 in a row. Boston's right behind them at 26-9, a 743 percentage. They're 4.5 games out. And they are very tough. That's going to be going back and forth the rest of the season. New York Knicks have really moved up in the last 10 games. They've been playing crazy. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games as well, and really clicking. And the trade they got for Carl Anthony Towns has paid dividends, and picking up all the other Villanova teammates and Brunson had when they won 2 championships back to back in the NCAA Division I with Villanova. Knicks are playing great. They just got to stay healthy. Orlando Magic, unbelievably in fourth place, 21-15. They've got 3-star players are injured. 2 major stars, all stars, both injured with torn obliques. What are the odds? But Jamal Mosley, the coach, has just kept it all together. And it's remarkable how they're playing. Well coached, and they've got depth. So thank God they've got some depth. They also lost Franz Wagner to oblique and his brother, Mo, and blew out his knee. So thank God they got Goga Badazi and Wendell Carter Jr., which I'm not a fan, but he's a big dude, so they need him. Milwaukee Bucks been playing pretty good. They're 17-15. They've had some. The Greek Freak has been injured, but Bobby Portis has stepped up and playing really well. They got Middleton back. Damon Lewis playing great, so they're always going to be dangerous now that they've got a year under their belt with the new coach and everybody's healthy. Greek Freak, cross your fingers. Believe it or not, Miami Heat 6th place at 17-15. So they trade Butler, who hasn't really been a part of the team and certainly won't be ever again, I don't think. They're going to try to get a boatload of talent, and they could be a team, depending on how that trade works out, where they could move up. So it'd be interesting. Right next, one of my favorite teams to watch is the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young. They're 18-17, playing 500 ball. That can improve, but there's a lot of teams that are 500 right now. Quite a few. As a matter of fact, Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers are next. Detroit Pistons, surprisingly, Chicago Bulls, and now that Embiid is actually playing, Philadelphia 76ers are starting to come into it. But week by week, this changes. And then I'll just briefly mention the worst teams in each conference. Philly's probably better than the other 4. Brooklyn Nets are really struggling. They're going to trade everyone. They're going for Cooper Flag. The Raptors, I don't know what they're going for, but hopefully now that the point guard's back and they can get healthy, uh, uh, I'm thinking they're going to fire their coach Darko. He seems like a nice chap, but and coaches in the NBA are hard to be fired. Charlotte Hornets, 2 of my favorite players in the NBA. They're 7-26, terrible. And Washington Wizards, perhaps the worst team in the NBA. In the Western Conference, we're going to go to Oklahoma City. In the last 10 games, is 10-0. Their winning streak is 14 games in a row. One of the best defensive teams in the league, and with the Canadian point guard SGA leading it. But right now, there's almost 30 Canadian players on rosters in the NBA. That represents the second most country in the world that has more players than anybody else except the Americans. Just shows you how the game of basketball has transcended itself. In Canada, I believe it's on the precipice of taking hockey as the number 1 sport in Canada, and certainly the fastest growing team sport in the world. We'll go to Memphis Grizzlies. I love watching them play. They're 23-12 and have had lots of injury problems, but they got lots of depth. Houston Rockets, very young team, has been playing really well. They're pretty much the same as the Grizzlies. They're looking to trade. There's rumors they might go after Butler. I don't think they're going to give up a boatload of young talent and draft picks to get a 35-year-old guy that might play 50, 60 games. The Lakers have been playing better under JJ Redick, and they're a little bit healthier. They're at 20-14 in fourth place. Denver Nuggets have moved up a little bit. They were struggling in the beginning of the year. They're in fifth. Dallas Mavericks, without Luka, they've been playing really well. Their depth is really helping them. They're at 20-15. The Clippers, surprisingly, with James Harden playing really well, and the big man in the middle, no one thought they would ever see Zubac play the way he's playing, and God bless him. I mean, I like the kid. Lakers should have never given him up. But right behind that, San Antonio, as I talk about, with Wemby going crazy. Golden State Warriors are still in it at 17-16. Minnesota Timberwolves 17-16, and the Phoenix Suns, 15-17, 16-19 with the Kings, who just fired their coach. They've been playing better as well. So there's a bunch of teams anywhere in that 6-7 team range in the mid to the lower could move up or move down. The three worst teams in the Western Conference: Portland Trailblazers at 11-22, Utah Jazz. They're going for Cooper. They would love to have Cooper Flag with the Jazz for sure. And then, New Orleans Hornets. Who knows what's going on there? I'd be surprised as Zion Williamson plays 20 games this season. It's just what a waste of talent, another hamstring injury. Have you heard of stretching? That might help. But anyways, that's going to be everything for the show today. I just want to say all the best to my good friend Trent Rowley. On behalf of Trent, hopefully he heals. I'm going to call his family right after the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Trent can also be found on the Ben Poulin radio show on Spotify called Two Guys and One Rant, and it's about them talking about their town of St. Paul and Alberta and what's going on in Alberta with politics and so on. And they are sponsored by a local brewery in town, and it's a great show if you're interested. But again, my name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. This is our second iteration, all basketball from the Hoopjunkies, Pauly and Rowley. And the first iteration, if you're interested in a little bit about all things Canadian, pop culture, that's a variety of interests. We're going to be filming our 25th episode tomorrow, 26th. I believe it's 26. With all Canadian, with Pauly and Johnny. So thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this content, please come back. Please comment, subscribe, like. It helps the algorithms. We have 30 subscriptions. It's only taken 6 months, only 470 to go. So any help that you can give us, we really appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to see you next week on the Canadian Bro Show. All basketball from the Hoopjunkies, Pauly and Rowley. And Rowley will be joining me next week, I'm hopeful, after he heals from the surgery. Have a great day, and thanks for joining me. Take care, peace, love, and happiness, and Happy New Year. Let's have a better 2025, shall we? Yes, we shall. All right. Well, thank you. No, stop it. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Take care.